Hey y'all, I'm Ali. Welcome to Little Hill Craft Company. I should have grabbed our final product to show you what we're making today, but I didn't. Good job, Ali. Anyways, today we are going to be making what I call a kitchen scarf or a kitchen boa. And it is essentially a piece of cotton that hangs around your neck. And at the end, you have dish towels. So I made one of these for Shawn a long time ago, and he like literally won't cook in the kitchen without it because you can like easily, he used to drape the towel over his shoulder. This way, you can use it to wipe your hands really easily, or wipe your counters, or use it as pot lifters, or anything like that. And it's really not difficult to make and really not that expensive to make. So I'm going to walk you through one today as basic as I can without it being the longest video in the history of the world, which it already is. So you need a piece of cotton. You're going to need a 13-inch strip. So that's like a third of a yard. No, a little more than that, but 13 inches. Give yourself a little wiggle room on that. And then you need it to, like when you buy on the bolt, it comes folded over, like you can tell what I'm talking about. It comes folded over. So you need the full length of one strip. And then you need a good kitchen towel. Kitchen towels can get really expensive, you guys. I went to Walmart because they have a few brands that I like because they're a little bit oversized. You can get one from like Dollar Tree, but they're almost like a microfiber and they're very small. So I went to Costco. We have a couple from different places, but Costco sells this 8-pack. Their Core Kitchen is the brand name. This was on sale right now for Thanksgiving for $14.99 for 8 towels. Phenomenal deal, and they're nice and thick. If you know, you know. So we made a bunch of these for our Etsy shop, and I'm going to show you today one for my sister. So my sister wanted black plaid because she has a problem. If it's black plaid, she's going to own it. And then I thought this would be super duper cute with it. So here's my towel. Here you go. So the first thing you need is, like I was saying, a piece of cotton fabric. You're going to need 13 inches. It's just a 13-inch strip. So all I'm going to do is line my fabric up on I use a rotary cutter to cut. It just makes things so much easier than using like scissors. So I'm going to do this at the 13-inch mark and just whip through it. This is going to be my extra for something else. And then I'm going to turn this. And if somebody in your life is really tall, it's nice for them to have it a little bit longer, but generally you want to cut it at the 22 so that when it's unfolded, you have a 44-inch scarf. We've done this with flannel, like cotton flannels. I love it because it's like more like a scarf, like Christmassy. We've used cotton, we've used duck cloth, and really it's easy. So here's our 13-inch piece ready to go. I'm going to take this. Let's go iron this first. Okay, so a couple things. A lot of people talk about our ironing table, and we're going to be doing a tutorial on how we made this very, very soon. But in the meantime, we also got a new iron. We got an Aliso because it was on a Black Friday special on Amazon. I did not realize it has this function. My iron is a lowrider. I don't like it, and it leaks terribly. So I do have another one showing up in the mail today. I just thought, give it a college try, and I didn't know it did that. I don't love it. It's very odd. For me, I like to set my iron down and then work ahead of it, folding or doing things while it's kind of sitting and then move it along. You can't do this with this because as soon as your hand comes off of it, it lifts itself up. I get it. So all you're going to do is fold this in half. If you're using a fabric that has a pattern, the pattern is going to be hidden on the inside. So you want to see the back side of your fabric. And all you're going to do is iron down the fold line. I did, however, get this little silicone mat that you can set your iron on so that if you have an iron that doesn't have this weird lift function, it can steam on there without burning it, and it saves your wrist. The thing is awesome. I've been using it for a couple days. I'm loving it. Okay. So I'm going to take this to my sewing machine, and you're going to use a 1/2-inch seam allowance and sew that side together. So let's go over there. Okay, I'm putting my little cheater magnet on at the 1/2 inch because I want a 1/2 inch seam allowance for this part. These magnets are super duper handy, you guys. I know people have all kinds of tricks, but this one for us works. So I'm sewing on the side where my 2 pieces of fabric can come apart. Like I said, you want to be able to see the back side of your fabric for this. And all I'm going to do is backstitch at the beginning and then whip down the entire thing at 1/2 inch. This is a very shreddy fabric. When you get to the end, backstitch again. All right, cut your thread, and we're going to take this back over to the iron, not sewing machine. You're going to put your hand in here, and I just kind of roll it up like a sock. And then I reach inside and I kind of pull it through, and do that a few times. You can also reach your hand through and pull it until it is right sides out. Give it a shake, and now we have a giant tube. It looks like a shirt sleeve, basically. The next thing we're going to do is take that tube. This end didn't untuck. And you want to do the seam side up. So the part that we just sewed is going to be on this side. You want to put it in the middle so it's running right here. And we're going to iron this opened. So my seam is right here. I'm going to make sure that my fabric isn't bunched right there, like folded or anything. And then I kind of backtrack to make sure that my sides are now open too. And then I'm going to pull it and do my other end down here. All right. So now it is a tube that's ironed with our seam right here in the back. The next thing we need to do, let me bring you in a little closer, is this is a raw edge right here, and it's going to be where your towel is going to be stuck and sewn. It's tucked, we'll say it nicely. So we want to fold this in. So I grab where the iron marks are on each side, and I just kind of flip it, and now it's a nice looking edge. I tuck it about 1 inch in, but it's kind of dependent on what you like for the look. Then when I lay it flat, I'm hoping you still can see me. Whoops. When it's laid flat, I look to make sure that it's a straight line, because when you do that little flippy dealio, sometimes you will flip it unevenly. So I'm going to pull this side down just a little bit to make sure it looks like a straight line. And then just iron that. I'm going to do the same thing with this side. So I grab my 2 corners where my iron was. See our seams in the middle? Tuck them down, and when you pull it, it'll just tuck right in like that. Mine is upside down, so let me flip that over. I want to see the face of it to make sure our pattern lines up and it looks straight. If you want to use a tailor's measuring tool to make sure that it's exact, you totally can. Pull this side down a little bit, and that looks nice and straight to me. Hit with your iron. Okay, we have a couple more things to do while we're over here. I need to grab, let me back you up again. Okay, I have my seam face up again. I'm going to fold our one edge that we just ironed to the first edge that we just ironed, and just kind of hold them in place. And we're going to iron this back edge, which would be the halfway mark of your scarf. If any of this does not make sense, ask me in the comments below. So I'm going to open it back up, and now we know where the center of our scarf is. So to sit a little nicer on your neck, I like to narrow this or taper it in a little bit so that it's not such a wide chunk on your back. So all I do is take the top and fold it to the middle, and take the bottom and fold it to the middle. And now it tapers in to make a nice place for your neck to sit naturally. I'm going to hit that with my iron, just so it holds. And then just because we're moving it, I'm going to clip at the top and the bottom to hold it. I'll show this up close to you, like what I'm talking about. Okay, I'm bringing it in, y'all. Okay, so it's right there. So our fold is in there, and then these are both folded to the center. Boom. That's where we're going to sew in just a second. That's it for the cotton For this part, we'll do some sewing on this when we get to the sewing machine, but let's go cut our towel. For the towels, these are the ones that I got at Costco. You want it to be wrong side up on your cutting mat. These towels, just for reference, are going to be 28 inches long, and these ones are 17 inches wide. The part when we're pinning, you may have to adjust if your towel is a little bit smaller. I'm going to cut off the tag because I don't need the tag in my life. So I just cut my little tag off. Get that out of here. Okay, we need to find the halfway point. So for me, I'm at 28 inches long. So 14 inches would be my halfway point for my towel. But for your towel, whatever it is, divide it in half, and that's where we're going to cut the towel in half. So each side of your scarf will get half of the towel. So now we have 2 halves. I like to turn my towels the same way so that my cut end is on one side and my finished edge from the manufacturer is on the other side. It just makes my life easier. So here is the fun part. Let me see if I can zoom you in even more. So for me, my towel is 17 inches wide. The easiest way to do this is to fold your towel in half and then line up your seams over here. And then where it folds, I pop a pin, right? Just like that. I don't even put it all the way through, so that when I unfold it, I can see my halfway point and I mark it with that pin. So now we have a pin at our halfway point. So I have, where is it? A measuring tool of any kind, you guys. For mine, just because of how wide this towel is, if I use a skinnier towel, this is where it's going to kind of change. But for me, at 17 inches, I mark for my pin. I go to my 4.5 inches out from the pin on each side of that pin. So let me move it over here, 4.5, and then a pin right here. So now I have 2 pins, each 4.5 inches from our center. Then I'm going to do another pin. This one is going to be 1.75 inches, 1.75, yeah, 1 3/4 inches in from your edge. So another pin there. Same thing on the other side, 1 3/4 inches in. If your towel is smaller, this pin on the outside edge and this pin would need to just move in slightly. So instead of a 4.5 inch gap, it could be a 4 inch gap, and then this would be like a 1 inch fold. You kind of mess with it based on your towel, but you'll see what I mean in a second. So here's the fun part. We have 5 pins lined up. Let me make sure you can see them. You can. You're going to grab the second pin in, and we're going to fold it into the center. So if you lift up and put your finger underneath it, you can pinch, and that creates like a little pucker. Pull that to your pin in the center, and then you're going to take the pin out and put it in to hold that fold. So we just reuse the same pin. So our center pin is still here. They're going to do the same thing on this side. Grab it and make a little pucker. I grab at the top and the bottom to create a little fold. And then you're going to move that pin and meet it in the middle, pull it out, and then put it back in to hold your fold. So now we have our 2. This pin you don't need anymore, so take it out. Then for this 1.75 inch, this is what I'm saying it could be different. Let me show you on our runner. So you basically want this end of your towel to end up just slightly skinnier than this piece of your towel, or of the wrap that's going to around your neck. So say your towel is smaller, if you folded it too much, this is going to be way too narrow and it's going to look weird in here. So you want to end up with the same inches wise to slide into there. So for me, I know that if I fold this at that 1.75 inch pin over and then put a pin in it on both sides, just like that, it ends up really dang close. I need to move it out a tiny bit, actually. I'm going to do this for you one more time in fast motion too. So move those out just a bit. And that's kind of perfect. Do you see how we have a tiny little space on each side? That's going to allow for us to insert this into the tube once it's sewn to create our end. Okay, so that one is done. Let me pull this other one over here really quickly so that I can show you in a little bit faster motion how we do this. So fold it in half, find your center, and put a little pin in it. Unfold it, and slide that pin in to mark. 4.5 inches on each side. We're going to put a pin. All right, so we have 4.5 on each side. And then for us, it's 1 3/4, 1.5-ish from the end. It's going to get another little pin. So we have our 5 pins. You're going to grab the second pin in, make that little fold, and move it to the center. Take the pin out and then secure it to the front piece. Then you're going to take this second one in from the other side, make the little fold, do the same thing, bring it to the center. And this is just creating a beautiful pleat so that when it hangs on the neck from where you see it, it just looks really pretty. And fold that over, pin it, and then we're going to fold this one over to the pin and pin it. All right. So we can take our center pin out because we no longer need it. So there's 4 pins holding this together. Let me flip it over so you can see it. That's what the back of our towel is going to look like. But then when you flip it over, it just creates this beautiful, like, kind of folded look. If you want to just fold the thing in half or whatever and make it fit without these pleats, you could totally do that too. Okay, let's take this to the sewing machine. We have both of them. Take it to the sewing machine, and I'm going to show you how we sew this sucker together. We're almost done, you guys. Okay, I'm trying a different angle today to see what you guys think is better here. I'm done with my little magnet, so I'm going to remove it. So let me know if you like this side better from the sewing machine or the other side better. I feel like when I work on the other side, you guys see my hands more than the project. Okay, I'm going to set my towels to the side. The first thing, they're terry cloth, so they shred everywhere. Remember how we put the clips on our towel? I mean, on our scarf section? We need to sew a line to secure that center. So all I'm going to do is take my top clip off, and then where you can kind of fold it up and see where the ironing line was. So I'm going to line up my foot on that ironing line at the top. I'm going to back stitch to hold the stitch at the top. For me, if I hold my thread, it doesn't suck down into the machine and cause a bird's nest. So I tend to hold it when I sew. I'm going to go forward and backwards to secure the stitch. Then sew a straight line all the way through to the other clip. I'm going to take my other little clip off, and then when you get to the end, back stitch again. Okay, cut your thread. That's the last of the sewing part on the scarf. I like to trim as I go, despite what my husband says. I say that. I like to do the trimming at the end. But that's our stitch to hold it into like a nice shape for your neck. And I will show you at the end what that actually looks like. The next thing we need to do, so we're done with the scarf part for right now, is bring your towel back. Okay, I like to line my towel up and recreate the folds, kind of straighten them out versus just having this pile, because naturally this end, where all your pins are, is going to want to curve if they're not folded like that. This is where the power of manipulation is a good thing. You want to convince this thing that it wants to not curve, and you want to sew a straight line. So work your magic, ladies. Okay, I sew right basically with the edge of the foot, and I'm going to start at one side, sewing through my pins. I have a strong machine. It's a semi-industrial, so it can sew through thick layers. If you do not, walking foot is your best friend for this. So I like to sew with the edge of the foot. You could go at like 1/4 inch is probably where I want to end up. So all I'm going to do, drop my foot, forward, backward, lock your stitch, and then like I was saying, you're going to sew across the top and make sure you get all the pieces of folds in here, which is why when you keep it folded over on this end, it helps this stay straight. So just whip through this. When you get to the center, make sure that your pieces are folded, and then continue on. Oh, see that one folded. So I'm going to leave my needle down, lift my foot, and then push my fold back a little bit just to make sure that it's good. Get to the end, back stitch. Okay. So now I have a nice straight line. I'm going to take my pins out, you guys. By the way, Shawn and I are from Southern California, and so when we say you guys, guys is a general term for everyone. Somebody said we're not guys, and I'm like, I know you're not guys. Some of you might be, but it's just a general term that we use in Southern California. So now we have this stitched. We get one more try at this, you guys. So bring it in. Again, use your power of manipulation here to convince the towel to do what you want. And then sew it at 1/4 inch, backstitching on both ends. You get to that middle, make sure your folds are good. Whoops, see, I caught it again. Let me lift my foot with the needle down and tuck that back under. There we go. You're working with a lot of fabric here, you guys. And backstitch. Y'all, my camera decided it was full, and so it stopped recording. So I had to switch colors on you because I finished the other one without realizing we'd stopped filming. So I'm switching to, this is going to be my scarf material, and I'm using a black towel. So I got it caught up to the same spot, but if it looks different, it's because it is. My bad. Anyways, I have this one sewn in the middle. I probably should have done it on this in the first place because you can see a little bit better. So I have my center line of our scarf part. I'm going to flip it over and take one of my towels. So this is going to be the front side. The seam that we sewed originally is at the back. I'm going to take my towel, which has been stitched, folded, and we're going to put it into the tube, basically, that we have created, like that. I like to put mine about 3/4 inch up into there so that we have plenty of room for it to catch. But the higher this part goes up, the wider it's going to taper out to fill that space. So if you feel like it's needs some shifting around to fill that, just move it up or down a little bit. So as you move it, this is going to naturally kind of want to unfold that cuff that we made. So make sure that your front and your back are even. I usually give my sides a little tug, and that helps you make sure that your front and your back piece, which you cannot see, are even this way on the towel. If you have a design, make sure you look to make sure it's even as well. So I'm going to take this and I sew where the cuff is with the edge of my foot one time across. Backstitch, follow through to the other side. Remember, you're going through quite a bit of material here. So if you have a walking foot, it's helpful but not necessary. And just go slow and convince it to go through all your pleats. So I backstitch on both ends, I cut it, and then what I like to do, so we have one basic stitch line, is I like to make sure it's nice and secure. So I'm going to sew through it one more time. I put my stitch line that we just created with the edge of my foot and use that as my guide now. Okay, so now we have 2 stitch lines, and we're going to trim up any extra threads we've got. Hoping that this is filming. This would be so bad if it wasn't, but it's okay. These all end up in our Etsy shop. Anyways. Okay, so we have one side done. It's got the double line. It's secured nicely. Looks pretty. Now we get to do it again. So make sure it is, this is your seam side. You want that down because that's the back side. So that when you put your towel in there, your pretty front of it is face up. So where we pinned is going to be face down. The pretty folds are face up. And then slide it into that tube again, about 3/4 inch up. And if you kind of wiggle it and fold, it kind of doesn't mind going in there. Then I turn mine and reposition it to make sure all my pleats are good. And then I'm at 3/4 inch-ish up into your sleeve. Make sure your pleats are good. Make sure everybody's folded. And we're good to sew, you guys. Let me see. This one's a little far down for me. If you have a pattern, make sure it looks good. But otherwise, we're set. Same thing. I'm going to line my foot up with the edge of my fabric and make one line across the whole thing. I forgot to tug it, so I'm hoping that I caught my fabric in the back. I did. We're good. Usually if you tug it from the sides like this, it helps it straighten it out. I don't know why. Again, front, back. This time we're following that stitch line that we just made on the edge of your foot. Back stitch. oops, cut your thread and then trim up all your little threads. I was going to use black thread, but I was like, you guys wouldn't see it at all on this if I did. Okay, all my threads are trimmed. We're good. So there's our 2 lines. Our towel looks really good. And let's go see what it looks like on you guys. Okay, so here's the original one that I made, and we started and then it cut out, and here's the second one that I made. So the first one was the black and white. This is that 13-inch tube that we created. So you fold it in half. You seamed it. We did the little piece at the top. Let me show you why I like that. So if I put this on without doing that little extra cuff, when you put it on your neck right here, it ends up being like up in your hairline. So this helps it sit a little more naturally when you put it on. And then our towels hang really cute on here. Is it not the cutest little thing? I just love it. You could do some like sparkly, sequiny fabric to make it like a true boa. I like to make it more classic and simplified to make it more like a scarf because Shawn grabs these all the time. And then the second one we made is this cute black one with the pink little flowers. We sell a ton of this fabric. Same thing, when you put it on, it just looks classy, simple, clean, and super cute. But the towel's at the bottom. This is why I was saying you don't want cheapy little towels. If you do, maybe use 2 because you won't get the length. They end up being really short and look a little sparse. These ones are nice and full, so make sure you don't skimp out on the towels. You get a better finished product if you have a nicer, thicker towel. So there you guys go. That's our finished project. And if you have any questions about how we created this, I will put the basic measurements below. But basically, cut your towel in half, create those little pleats, and our tube was 13 inches wide. Turn it and cut it to about 21 or 22, depending on the salvage edge. And that's what you get. Okay, hit me up if you have any questions, though. I'm happy to answer them. I am working on posting a new wristlet video for you guys because the second part where I said just my camera had cut out, why does it always, I always have audio video issues. But I'll be posting that soon as well. And a couple other things coming up. Anyways, thanks you guys.